Well, howdy, folks. Hope you're doing all right tonight. And well, what a day! What a day! What a day it has been. Making sure my microphone is actually turned on and all things are pointed in the right direction. Hope you've had a good day. It's been an interesting one. I'll certainly say that. Um, I guess the dominating news in my part of the world today was obviously the Aussie Cossack and things that have gone on from last Saturday. Interviews that he conducted on Saturday night on his Trollops and Truthless radio show. And then, of course, Guru had a say on Saturday night as well. He put a show out, I think, after 8 o'clock on Saturday night. That was laying down his side of the story. We had a bit of a chat about it yesterday, of course. And John Wilson got involved as well. He's put out his 20 cents worth. I urge you to go and check out his Telegram channel. The old pirate is not happy, as you would probably imagine. And well, it's not a matter of being not happy. There is a large element of disappointment, I'm sure, as much for John as there is for me in all of this, because we had hoped, we had wished, we had thought better. But for whatever reason, it didn't come through. So there has been, and I just want to share some of it with you. Here are some of the comments that came on last night's show. This is just from the one channel that I went to. Somebody there went to go and see Guru speak. Pretty upset that the 100K got in the way of hearing the truth. Misty Calendar is pretty sad, as I think we all are. It's a disappointment. It's a fast and sad truth to learn, and an ugly way to learn it, I guess. My prison postcard story, there isn't a great deal to the story. It's not really worth mentioning, other than the fact that it built nothing out of a relationship that we had. In fact, if anything, he was angry that he came out of jail and had to, I guess, from people around him, had to come and thank me. That wasn't why I did it. I genuinely believed that it was a good, easy thing for me to be able to do to show support. And at the time, clearly felt he was worth supporting. I wouldn't do that today. I don't think I'd start that postcard campaign again today, not after what happened last weekend. And there are still so many questions to be answered about the money, because it seems that it is the money that got involved here that changed things. And as I can see, Tony has said down the bottom here, where did the money go? Money, money, money. Well, 100%. Now, there was talk of there being $100,000. I never heard any talk of that $100,000 actually coming from the federal government in any way, shape, or form. What I do know is that $50,000 of it came from the Liberal Democrat Party out of New South Wales, because John Ruddock was boasting about it. No, he wasn't boasting about it. He was using it as a weapon. He was making sure that everybody knew which swinging dick had control, and it was the swinging dick that paid the money, and his party paid $50,000 toward it, and others were doing the same. Almost unquote letter, word for word. So those other parties seemed to back out. That other party was supposedly UAP. But then in Cossack's radio show Saturday night, he backed out on that again. Craig Kelly said, "Oh, no, we made the decision on Wednesday not to go and be involved with that at all." Well, okay, be that as it may. Everything had to be booked. Everything had to be paid for. Where are those costs? Where is the money? How's it gone? And it was interesting to note in a number of both those Cossack interviews on Saturday night, they were both the politicians were deeply indebted to TNT Radio for paying for everything. Now, what was the division of who paid for what here? Did TNT pay for the stage? Did TNT pay for the staging, the cameras, the microphone, the screen? All of that. Did they pay for that? Did they pay for the hotel accommodation Did they pay for the 35 tribal folk who came down from Western and Northern New South Wales? Did they look after the accommodation maybe for Dave Oniggs? Did he stay in a hotel? Where is the money gone? Tell us that, because it will enable us to understand a little bit better how the worldwide rally for freedom managed to change between a Monday and a Wednesday into the national unofficial vote no protest. And as near as I can tell, the only thing that changed in that time was either the promise or the actual handover of money. So how much and where did it go? Don't think that'd be too much of a problem to ask. And if the Cossack is ever going to tell us where it went, I suppose he's got a week to get all his ducks in a row, doesn't he? Because outside of going on side of Trollops and Truthless Radio, I don't know. I honestly don't know what else he does. He's probably got something happening on Rumble, maybe. I don't know. And probably still on Telegram. But I imagine today he may have copped a few questions on that Telegram channel because, as Chris has pointed out, John Wilson has been pointed in his criticism. He understands the tactics of the game, as Chris has said here, and he is a great asset to us. Yes, John is a great asset in many ways. I think he's very disappointed in the Cossack because of the communist and former communist leanings of the old bloke. And I know that they've had their conversations in the past, and they have not always seen eye to eye. But look, let's not get into it too deeply. Well, we are going to talk about it a little bit further. I think the Cossack probably has some political aspirations going forward. But it's interesting that the Aussie Cossack was put on Trollop and Truthless Radio, being the very loud voice for Russia that he is. Now, if you've been viewing this program at all from back in the day when we started it, you will have learned that I used to work for Trollop and Truthless Radio. In fact, it was a very short little union. I did 3 or 4 weeks, I can't remember. About the only thing I remember about it, it was the most horrible radio experience I'd ever had in my life, with a couple of, 2 of the weirdest, most unprofessional radio people I've ever worked with in my career. Could they be that unprofessional and still be working in radio after 7 years? Damn right. Radio industry is full of fucking incompetent people, especially in management. However, these two are a bit different. There was something very different about these two. And we'll get into my thoughts on that another day. But they sacked me after, and I'll give you the time frame. On the Saturday morning, I had a phone call from Mike Ryan, who is the CEO, I think, quoted in the papers and whatnot, that you'll see him on social media. I had a phone call from him telling me what an outstanding job I'd done. Now, on the Friday night, I'd had Ricardo Bosi on for his second interview with me. His first interview with me, which was my first show on TNT Radio, was, until that second interview, the highest rated show that they had had in their history. The highest amount of downloads, the highest listeners, the highest everything. Until the second interview that I did with him on the Friday night, which eclipsed the former record and set new records. He rang me on the Saturday morning telling me how wonderfully happy that they were that I joined the team, and that, going forward, there were great plans, and yada, 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 blowing air straight up the tracksy. So, it was nice to hear. But in this game, if you let that air get blown up your ass too big, soon your head starts to inflate, your ears start to get a bit big, and you start believing the bullshit. And there is no point. This is where ego comes into life a bit. And I think they probably found out mine doesn't give a shit. So I turned up on the Monday, very happy that they were very happy with me. And I must say, in my career, I have had some glowing reviews and thanks and all that sort of stuff, but never have I had one quite as effervescent as the one I was given on that Saturday morning. Fair dinkum, it was like I was about to be offered shares in the joint. Monday night, I turn up to do my show, which wasn't hard because it was basically done at the end of my bed, pretty much like this one is, and put on my first guest, and we had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful conversation. Now, we talked about a lot of things. One of the things that we spoke about in great detail at that time was an image that had been taken over Canberra on the day that everybody was there protesting and got terribly burned. This is that image. That is Black Mountain Tower. That is some kind of beam coming out of there. This is obviously taken by a drone. The drone, the story goes from memory, is the kind of drone that checks for electronic leakages in power lines, amongst other things, and electrical and telecommunication installations. This is working obviously in a zone of light that we can't see. And you can see on the left-hand side, there is a temperature gauge that'll give you an idea of just how hot that area is being projected. Now, we've spoken about that. Who was I speaking about all that with? I was speaking about that with this bloke, Sean Ambrose. Good evening, my dear friend. How are you? It's been so long. I'm sorry it's been that long to get you back on here.
Good evening, Carl. It's always good to speak with you. You're looking well.
So after we spoke about that Canberra beam, that was really an incidental. As it was just something, and we couldn't show it obviously because it was TNT radio. We weren't doing this kind of a show, so we were just talking about it. But at that time, you were, and I think still are, very vocal in your support for the Russians, and we're going back now. Had they hadn't set a foot in Ukraine at that stage, it was all being set up, wasn't it? And we could see that the Russians were being set up. And that's what we were discussing. So I was sacked the Tuesday morning at 9:30 with a phone call. No, not even with a phone call. I was sacked by email from the first part of the TNT radio. And it was just a very terse little email. And when I inquired as to why I'd been sacked, it was, you know why. And I honestly had no idea. I mean, we touched on, I think we also bailed Malcolm Turnbull up for feeding $10 million to the Russians to modify our weather in that program as well, didn't we?
That's right. The rain seeding technology that he financed as the environment, when he was the environment minister in the Howard government, the Australian Corporation.
Yeah. So we touched on three fairly significant issues that night. And to be honest, I don't know that I was ever really sure which one they sacked me for. However, they used Russian sympathiser, that's not us, Russian sympathiser, Russian sympathiser. And now we've got the Aussie Cossack pulling a shift on there every week. And they're paying for his rallies in Sydney.
It's just bizarre, Carl. It is just utterly bizarre, you know, like, and, you know, I have great admiration and respect for Simeon. I regard him as a great friend, you know, and of course, all the people, all the Russian people and the Orthodox community. But we're like living in some warped fourth dimension now. I mean, this is just utterly bizarre. You know, you get sacked because of the program we did. Now they've got Simeon on there. He's, I think, every night. I think.
Is he? Righto.
It's just bizarre. And of course, you know what they did on the weekend, where it's essentially cancel culture. They're dictating who can say what and when. You know,
well, the Aussie Cossack's been standing up and, you know, being the Aussie patriot. He's been leading the charge against just this very thing. Now, there's no denying, because he's admitted it and likes to wear the badge of ownership of it, that he is the organizer of the Worldwide Rally for Freedom rallies here in Australia. So when there is this talk of money being thrown around and all of a sudden the Worldwide Rally for Freedom that's happening worldwide except for Australia, it's now the Worldwide Rally for Freedom everywhere else. In Australia, it's the Vote No, the unofficial Vote No rally. When there's talk of $100,000, potentially more, there may have been other private donors. And what happened on Saturday, or in the lead up to it. Guru being excluded is one thing. I'm more concerned at the fact that there was money put on the table to change the entire event, to take it from a freedom rally event and turn it into a political, not official vote no celebration or rally that had a certain select invited guest list of speakers.
That's
That's
how it
where
looks.
I find it starts to smell.
That's how it looks to me, Carl. I was there. That's how it looks to me. It looked like unless you were part of the club, you ain't going to get a spot on the stage. And it just coincidentally, with last weekend, one of the MPs that spoke, Tanya Mihalik. Now, just before COVID, Carl, you might remember I was a member of the Labor Party. I'd been a member of the Labor Party for 20 years. I resigned in disgust because of all this. But just before COVID, I actually applied for a job with Tanya Mihalik to be her electoral officer. Now, I didn't get the job because Tanya Mihalik thought that I was too much of a communist. I mean, I'm not a communist at all. I've always been accused of being a communist. So Tanya spoke, and I like Tanya. I think Tanya's great, but I thought I'll go and say hello to Tanya. So I went down to the back of the stage, and Tanya's talking to a couple of other people. And when she finished, I said, Tanya. She's turned around. She went, Sean. She goes, what are you doing here? And I said, well, as you know, Tanya, I'm no longer part of the Labor Party. And she goes, no, well, neither am I. She said, oh, your name came up. She said, your name came up just the other day. She said, in the meeting we had about this rally, she said, they were going to ask you to speak. She said, which party are you with now? And I said, well, Tanya, I said, I'm with Australia One. Well, that was like a light bulb moment. Her eyes lit up like dinner plates. And it was like one of those poker moments, when you've gone all in, you've got the,
Yep.
And it was like I could tell then and there what had happened, you know. And what we're seeing these political parties now. We're seeing this factionalism within the freedom movement. They want to control the narrative. I think it's tragic. It's just utterly tragic.
So what do you think what is Simeon's game plan here? Is his plan to go into politics or fight for the people? At the moment, it seems to be a very political future that he sees for himself. He's certainly aligning himself with the politicians. And I guess the other reason he might be doing that, particularly New South Wales politicians, is he will be, no doubt, I would think, trying to garner support. We're coming up, or not, have just passed the 12-month anniversary of him being essentially his own prison captive inside the Russian, it's not the embassy, is it? It's the consulate in Sydney. And I think it's 12 months he's been in there. In that time, the criminal justice system have convicted him of a crime in absentia on a day and place that was not already notified to them to come and lay up your case. In fact, his solicitor just happened to be in the court that day, and they saw him and wheeled him in and said, "Bang, we're going to deal with this right now." And Simeon was railroaded, and I think, from memory, he got a 12-month sentence out of that. It might even be longer. And this is essentially why he is in the Russian embassy. He appealed for asylum because he wasn't given an opportunity to fight those charges at all, and he was being persecuted on the streets after what had happened with the protester in the Sydney streets. Who I don't know how he lost this. I really don't. This protester charged him holding a flagpole, running upstairs, and Simeon held his arm out to stop this gentleman and the flagpole hitting him, and the old bloke bounced off him and fell back down 2 flights of stairs. So tragic, sad, but not very good Russian tactics or Ukrainian tactics. If you're going to try and mount a battle going up the hill, and you're going up in a light infantry unit and you find a tank sitting at the top of it. It's not going to help you.
Artillery piece.
Yeah.
That's like just absolutely. Look, it's absolutely tragic what's happened. What's happened to Simeon. But my advice to Simeon, I wouldn't be putting trust in politicians. You'd be putting the trust in the people. It's
Well, I think
he might have the people, but now it seems that Simeon's. I don't know what he's doing, but I would not be trusting politicians.
No, I don't think he can be. Well, I don't think there's any politician that can be trusted. But I think Simeon has done himself a huge disservice, and I don't know that the Australian people. I mean, what he did to Guru, you don't do to people. Mates, not mates. We're brothers. We're brotherhood. We're fighting in the same bloody war. And while we might be fighting at different parts in different places at different times, there should never be any doubt we are together.
We're all on the same side.
And we are all on the same side. We are all fighting for the same thing, essentially. We are all doing it in our own separate, different little ways. But what we don't do is take money and burn others in the movement for it. And if that's what this turns out to be, then I'd find that pretty hard to come back with. I mean, Russia might be the best place for him. It might be the only place he'll get any respect, because
Russia might not take him.
Russia might not take him. Well, and that's the other thing. This has got to look bad for Russia-Australia relations, because if this is how the Russians do business, you cultivate a friendship, you cultivate a relationship, that relationship does bear fruit. The fact of the matter is, some of that fruit parks itself outside the consulate on a regular basis in the form of hundreds, if not the odd thousands of people, for rallies to support Simeon, who's holed up behind there and occasionally is allowed to a window to a wave, like the Queen from the balcony. Or I suppose it's Prince Philip from the balcony in his case. So he's got immeasurable support from the people. When he calls on them, hey, come out the front, let the world know what's going on. In the past, you and many, many others have been there at his beck and call. But on the Worldwide Rally for Freedom Day, the thing he organises for Australia, and was organised under that banner a week, 5 days before it was due to happen. And sometime between the Monday and the Wednesday, that changed. And without even bothering to change the banner, just cutting off the Worldwide Rally, Freedom Rally top and inserting, Vote No Rally over the top, and didn't change any other thing. They used the rest of the poster, everything.
Yeah, it's I just think it's utterly disgraceful. I've got no time for politicians. I was there on the day, so I heard what was being said by even people that I know, that I've stood at the front of the embassy, the consulate at Wallara with, and not allowed to wear Z shirts. All the Z shirts you weren't allowed to be seen with a Z shirt. I'm wearing one now, by the way.
Yeah, go hard, mate. That's all good. So what you're saying is, before the event, Simeon had been encouraging everybody in his group, and there's quite a few, to wear their Z shirts. On the day, they roll up, and you're greeted by somebody who says, no Z shirts. Here's a shirt for you to wear. Did that shirt have a political branding on it, or just a vote no or something?
What did it say? I think it said yeah, no. I think it was a Liberal Democrat shirt.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. That's what it was. Yeah, no. This was a Liberal Democrat rally. That's what this was. They hijacked the Worldwide Freedom Movement rally to be about the Liberal Democrats, and then to be a singular issue. Now, this particular issue, It's not just about voting no. There's 100 other reasons why we're voting no. Now they're using the Aboriginal people. They're using them as scapegoats, and this is all to do with Klaus Schwab, the UN 17 Sustainability Development Goals. I mean, globalization, big corporations. This is so deep, and yet these politicians, these cankerous swine, they want to hijack a rally and they want to make it all about them, and they want to control the narrative. Now, Carl, this goes back. If you think back, there was 2 referendums in this country. One was in 1974 in regard to providing local councils with constitutional recognition. The Australian people voted no. Just bear with me for a moment. 1988, there was another referendum. They tried the same thing again. The Australian people voted no. In 1999, we had the Republican referendum. And at that referendum, they wanted to amend the Constitution and include a preamble in the Constitution to recognise Australian Aboriginals as being, the first people here on this continent. Now, as we all know, those 3 referendums are bombed. I'll finish, but it's about recognising councils. What they're trying to do now, Aboriginal land councils, and this all stems back to the UN. Now, in 2013, Julia Gillard, and she's been looked after too, by the way. She's now with the Wellcome Trust, they've got something to do with the World Economic Forum. But Gillard announced in 2013 that there was going to be a referendum in regard to acknowledging local councils. That bill currently sits in the Australian Senate, unbeknown to 99% of the Australian people. It currently sits in the Senate. Now, what they intend to do with that bill, that will amend Section 96 of the Constitution to provide funding from the Commonwealth Government to local councils. So this has all been set up. This has all been set up, and the Aboriginal people are being used as scapegoats. And we've got the likes of, these cankerous swine, these cloven-hoofed swine, Ruddock and the rest of them, and the New South Wales Parliament. They're all the same. They've all got the same stench. They would not have a clue as to what is happening. They just said, it's just about just vote no. They don't want to acknowledge all the other issues. Now, Ruddock and the rest of them, I doubt full well that they would be familiar with Section 13A of the New South Wales Constitution Act 1902. So I doubt they've ever read the New South Wales Constitution, but Section 13A is quite pertinent. Section 13A is pretty much Section 44 of the Commonwealth Constitution in regard to members of Parliament not having an allegiance, obedience, or adherence to a foreign power. Now, I'm actually waiting, and I'll stand on my head if he comes out and denounces the UN or the World Economic Forum or Klaus Schwab. I'll stand on my head. But these politicians, Ruddock, the rest of them in the New South Wales Parliament, all the rest of them down there in Canberra, they will not denounce the UN or the World Economic Forum. They're all dancing to the tune.
Yep. How are they able to get? Well, it's a stupid question. I was going to ask something really stupid, but the answer is money. So I've been looking at a few of the things in the chat here. People are asking, could the Cossack have been played? Or is he trying to play the politicians? If there is any playing going on, the politicians are doing the playing. They are using him and his ability, and understand what we're talking about here, right? The New South Wales police are supposedly actively hunting the Aussie Cossack to put him in jail. He's been given a 5-day-a-week radio slot on Trollops and Truthless Radio. He's allowed to organise rallies, the Worldwide Freedom Rally that morphs into this no vote rally, but it only morphs into it after there is money introduced into the scheme of things. And yes, I can prove that there was money introduced into the scheme of things, and a lot of money, right? So that's well and good, as one of the, and I think it was Ruddock said, these things have to be paid for. We wanted it to look professional. There's security, there's lights, there's cameras, there's screens, there's, PA systems and staging. And, if we're going to bus people in, they've got to, come on a nice bus, and they've got to go into a nice hotel, and they've got to be looked after and felt loved. And I don't disagree with any of that. I just want to know how much it cost to the cent. I want to know how much they got and where it went. And then, of course, that was the money that I know Ruddock said he put up for. So what did TNT pay for? Because they all thanked Mike Ryan at TNT for paying for it all. Paying for it all was the quote. So my question is, how much money went to change the name of the Worldwide Freedom Rally to the Vote No Rally? And who did it go to? Or what happened for that to change? If it wasn't money, what happened? Now, is it that the Cossack is trying to gain government influence so that he can get some access and support through government into the judiciary to run an appeal from outside of his jail cell, but inside of his other jail cell, to hopefully be let out and back on the streets? Could he be pushing that kind of an angle?
I think that's part of it, Carl. There's obviously, he's obviously got some thoughts, and he's got some pieces on the board that he's thinking. And you remember, Russians are master chess players, but I'd never trust a politician. I'd never. You can't trust them after what they've done to us after the last 3 years. What they've done to Simeon. What they've think about what they did to Julian Assange. You can't trust these people.
No, you cannot.
I'm hearing that the courts are being shut down.
Well, I saw the notice the other day. The Australian Taxation Department is closed until further notice. So that's interesting. Let me bring in the Galactic Larrikins here, because they've been sitting patiently for now over half an hour, and that's the longest I've seen them sit in one place for so long without throwing things at each other. Hello, boys. Nice to have you here, and welcome to the show.
How are you?
So,
Sean,
interesting point that Sean just brought up, fellas. What are your thoughts?
Well, I noticed, what's her name, every Saturday, Monica, she just released a book, and she only spent like 40 days or something in prison. If Semo's put a good year in, I mean, think what he's going to get. He's getting like a movie deal.
He'd be writing a book at the moment, for sure.
Definitely writing a book. I reckon movie deal, maybe mini-series.
Yeah, but we're sort of referring to the jail sentence that he's got, but he isn't actually serving, because he got, I think, over a year for trespassing on the police property thing, where he and Mrs. Cossack were in a public car park, and they walked in somewhere through some bollards or some, it wasn't fences or gated off or anything, and realised they were, somewhere that held police cars, unmarked police cars, and they were doing a live at the time or something like that, and the police got their noses out of joint. Now, I'm led to believe that somewhere in the background, he may have been charged with terrorism offences based on that. So he could be up maybe significantly longer than 12 months in jail. And they could be using this to pressure him. I'm not making excuses for the Cossack. I'm throwing these things out because these are things that have been thrown at me. Would you, in that sort of situation, if it was going to get you out of the shit, throw your mates and everything? Essentially, he has dashed his reputation on this. So I guess the question
depends
is
on reputation. With the politicians, he's probably gone up a notch. He's always been sort of had this political edge, everything ever since we've known him, and that's the direction he wants to take, and all fair. As with the trespassing, well, if the police had their little bit of nose out of joint, well, we know that it was Cossack who put it out of joint. He is the ultimate shit stirrer, or a provocateur, and
is.
he's a professional provocateur. So, yeah, unfortunately. The police, as we've learned everywhere, like it's not just Australia; it's happening everywhere, isn't it? Where the intelligence agencies and the police, they are more than willing to break the law, bend the law, whatever you want to call it, to set you up and to get their own back.
Well, we know that we've been fighting the war. So, but the problem, I think, the problem that we're talking about here is that one of us who's been fighting on our side of the war just turned around and shot one of us while we're behind the parapet.
Mm.
And I'm just trying to figure out why.
Not a good look.
Not a good look.
Well, there could be anything.
And,
I don't really know.
David, I'm not pulling anybody down here, David. So I don't know where you think I'm pulling people down. What I'm doing is talking about the factual evidence I have. And you ask about truthful facts. Yes, I do. I have a lot more that I won't share here yet, but I have a shitload more, including audio. So, yes, I'm very sure of what I speak. Otherwise, I wouldn't be speaking it. Let's just be clear on that point. So I don't know. Can he recover? Is he going to recover? What's his next step? Bradford.
Oh, he's made a big mistake as far as the freedom movement's concerned. As far as the political arena is concerned, he's probably, done something good for his career. I don't know.
But isn't he going to need the people to vote for him at some stage if he's planning to become a politician?
Yeah. He probably hasn't upset the entire freedom community. There's probably a certain proportion of the freedom community that's still with him and would stay with him anyway. And then if he's winning over a bigger audience with his political affiliations and his radio appearances, maybe he doesn't care about people who are following Guru and...
Oh, he doesn't.
No.
Angela's just said we need to give Simeon a chance to say his version of events before we condemn him. Simeon has already said his version of events, Angela. He did a radio show on last Saturday night, after the event, and had John Ruddock and Craig Kelly on it, where they addressed these issues, although they didn't mention the money, just between you, me, and the Gatepost. Not too much. They claimed the rumour of the money was about the federal government stumping up $100,000. And I've not heard that rumour at all. They were starting that rumour. That's what they were doing in that show. They were starting that rumour, right? Because I can guarantee you $50,000 came from the Liberal Democrat Party, unless they reneged on the deal that John Ruddock bragged about. So there was more too, but Craig Kelly and the purse string holders at UAP may have backed off on that and not got involved. If that was the case, I think 50 grand's not enough to cover the costs of everything. So who paid what, where, and why? And how much did TNT step up for if that is the case? If there was money that changed hands and went to the organisers of the worldwide rally for freedom to get it changed to the national unofficial vote no rally, don't we have a right to know about that? That's the only... I'm asking those questions. I think we just have or am I being too hard? Should we just and brush it off? There.
It's just utterly bizarre. I mean, the way this freedom movement has been splintered, the factionalism. We've got these gatekeepers, or call them what you want to. Counterproductive.
Yeah.
Completely counterproductive. If we're supposed to be together, we're supposed to be fighting together, and yet we have these rallies where certain political parties, you don't fit. Your head doesn't fit. You don't get a spot on the stage. I mean, what's become of this freedom movement? Like, we have to work together.
Yeah.
Of course, we can all have our differences of opinions, but that's what makes democracies great.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Just because we have a difference of opinion doesn't mean we can't be friends.
Yeah, the problem is the freedom movement seems as though it's been infiltrated, and the best way to control your enemy is to become part of it. So, you've got to think that this cabal that's, basically losing its hold on humanity that it's had for probably thousands of years. It's struggling like anything at the moment, doing whatever it can. And I think this is, just another one of their tactics to infiltrate this community, and to, whether or not it's knowingly or not, it doesn't have to be knowingly. It can be just through donations. So because you're getting donations from a certain group, then you sort of go, okay, well, maybe I should do what they say. Then they might give me another donation sometime. It could be totally innocent in that way. You're just trying to get by in this world, basically, like everyone else. But then again, sometimes it can be, quite deliberate, and it can be by the people who are knowingly trying to bring down our society.
Yep.
I'm not saying that's Cossack, but I'm just saying that it does happen. And I think it is happening in our community. I'm not saying who it is, but there are definitely people out there, especially the politicians, who have been what's the word? Corrupted is the word. Compromised. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Compromised.
Yeah.
Well, you think about the politicians. Now they're getting it's probably around $2.70, $2.80 a vote back from the AEC. They've got a lot to lose in all of this. They don't want to see the system changed, and they're going to do everything they can to protect that system, like the Matrix, right? Because the system protects them. It finances them. You think about what these politicians can get away with. They've got, some of them actually had marketing and advertising agencies, and the rort was that they would use their own marketing and advertising agencies to produce the material, and they'd charge the taxpayer. I mean, there's all kinds of rorts that go on. The parliament needs to be cleaned out, completely cleaned out. But the parliamentarians, the staffers, and the bureaucrats, they are going to fight tooth and nail to protect what they've got, and that's why we saw what we did last weekend. The political establishment are going to do everything they can to hold on to what they've got.
Yeah, 100%.
And the likes of Klaus Schwab, the UN, that whole global elite, if they can sink their claws into these minor parties and hold on to them, because at the end of the day, they want this new world order, this centralized one world government of the United Nations. And if they have to use these minor political parties to retain that agenda, or to see that agenda enacted, that's what they're going to do.
Yep. Couldn't agree more with you. Gentlemen, I'm going to love you and leave you because I have to be somewhere else a little bit later this evening. So I'm going to cut you short. Sean, thank you very much for coming on first up. I appreciate it. And tell me, how did the daughter's tooth go?
Oh, I don't know, Carl. She's 5 year old. She's 5 year old. So a couple of weeks ago, one of her friends lost a tooth, and so she wanted to lose a tooth too, and so she's wiggled them, two of them loose. So we had to take it to the dentist. That was about a fortnight ago. So she lost one. Yeah. Now she's wiggled another one loose. So it's just I don't know.
I can see a very small pair of fluffy handcuffs in your future.
It's just keep you busy.
Yeah, keep you busy. Speaking of keeping busy, work going well for you?
Yeah, it's going well. I'm back on the waterfront. So as you'd recall, Carl, I used to be a union delegate on the waterfront. So I've gone from lighting fires now to putting them out. So I'm now in management. But it's going well. So yeah, I'm the safety manager down there in Port Kembla, but it's going well.
Mate. And just so you know, you're never far from my heart. So it's all good. All right, brother. Good to talk to you, and I'll catch up with you when we're down your way in the near future. Looking forward to it.
For sure, Carl. I'm looking forward to it.
You and Glenn.
Yeah.
It'll be great. Looking forward to catch
I'm
up.
looking forward to it.
Okay, cheers, bro. And Galactic Larrikins, wonderful to have you on board, even if it was only for a short journey this evening. But you were at the event, so very quickly, what was your general feeling, boys, of the whole event on Saturday? I mean,
It was a very professional event, let's say, professionally run event. Huge, big, expensive screen. LED screen behind them, great sound equipment. It was very, very, very swish setup. Had the cameras too. Geez, we were jealous of the cameras these guys were using. Money, huge, like proper TV studio cameras. Massive, yeah. So,
We saw Rukshan and Avi from Rebel News had appeared there. I don't know who flew them up there or who paid those expenses, but
that'd be interesting to find out if they were paid to come up. Yeah, that'd be very interesting to find out if they were paid to come up, or who paid for them to come up. Did they stay overnight? Who paid for their accommodation?
Don't know. But it was very obvious difference to our normal freedom rallies, which are the normal sort of speakers, where this was all political parties, and it was all very YouTube friendly. Let's put it that way. And that's why I assumed that they didn't want Dave speaking or anyone who they couldn't control who might say something that goes against the YouTube friendly rules and anything that would get them in trouble by the mainstream media.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. And I mean, that's an interesting or a nuanced discussion that we've got to have in the freedom movement. Like, there's obviously some people who believe that we shouldn't be getting into the political system at all and just don't want to get involved. But then if you do get involved in the political system, do you play by their rules and start playing their games and doing that sort of system? And in that way, then you don't talk about the more fringe things, which are easily hyperbolized or like exaggerated and made fun of. So these are complicated issues.
Definitely.
Beyond my solving, that's for sure.
All right, boys. I appreciate your time tonight. And Bradford, I know you're madly packing. At least you've got the art off the wall behind you, I see. So that's gone well.
Yeah, that's right. I've got the wallpaper down.
It's a tribute to the Canberra red bricks.
Very good. And Bear, we can look forward to seeing your smiling face up in Brisbane at the end of this week when you come up to help us with the launch of the My Place Redlands and our vehicle. So looking forward to seeing your smiling face up here at the end of the week. It'll be great.
Looking forward.
All right. Cheers, boys. Look forward to speaking to you again during the week. And you folks too. I know Cossack has a lot of supporters, and I'm not trying to tear him down. I'm just simply pointing out that there are a lot of questions that need to be asked. And will he answer them? Maybe, maybe not. He's not ringing me to talk to me about it. So maybe he's going to ring Dave. I don't know. Maybe he's talking to Guru. I don't know. Maybe he's going to talk to John. Maybe he's just going to come out himself and make a whole heap of statements. That doesn't necessarily answer the questions, but he'll have plenty of time to figure out the answers to those questions because he'll answer them on his timetable, won't he? Because nobody else can get to him. That's how it is. So be that as it may, it is what it is. He is now acting like a politician. He's that hard to get a hold of, and by the sounds of it, the politicians have schooled him quite well on the evidence, and I'm sad for that. I'm not angry at him. I'm just sad. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed for you. If you were a fan, if you were a supporter of him, like me, I loved his work, and I really did think that he could be a very powerful member of this movement, this freedom movement going forward. But through his own actions, it has to be said, he has put himself in line of the judiciary, and they have taken a very big stick to him a couple of times. And that's now put him in a pretty hard spot, which is holed up inside the Russian consulate. Mrs. Cossack can leave anytime she likes, but she's Mrs. Cossack, so she's staying with the Cossack. So I guess she can go out and see her family, but he can't. And, well, he'd be prepping for his radio show 27 hours a day, so that'll be how that'll have to work. I hope he comes out and wants to talk about it. I hope they can tell us who paid for what, where, and why. And I hope he can explain, and there may well be some very feasible answer as to why he would allow, as the organizer of the Worldwide Rally for Freedom, to be changed into a vote no. And I saw somebody stick up a thing here that said, well, so does it matter if it changed to a vote no vote rally from the Worldwide Freedom Rally? Well, look, on the big scheme of things, no, it really doesn't. But wouldn't it have been better if that was done organically rather than it being changed politically by cash, an injection of money? So I have no doubt that organically the Freedom Rally would have been a rally for the no voters. Organically, they would have been the same people who turn up for both, and the speakers would be speaking for both issues, I am sure, if not many more. And I'm sure Guru would have spoken on many other issues, from the 28 to the judiciary and the children, the missing, murdered, bloody children, that we are desperate to bring that sort of bullshit to an end and make those responsible for carrying it out truly responsible for their actions. That's what we're dedicated to. You're not going to get our kids. Not anymore. So I'm keen to just follow the money. Cossack could well be completely innocent in all of this. However, based on what we know he's the organizer of the Worldwide Rally for Freedom in Australia. We know, therefore, the organizer is the only one that can probably change its name. Why would it change its name? Well, because it got a new sponsor, and the new sponsor wanted to change it to the Vote No, unofficial Vote No rally. But I urge you once again to look at the same people who were involved in this, the same people in the background, the Last Supper sitters, as we like to call them. They're the same people. Hoodie even went to Perth to protect Perth from Bosie, we suspect. Not that Bosie was invited to stand up on the stage at Perth at any time, but he went to the rally and sat down the back and just spoke to the people who wanted to talk to him, because that's what Rick does. He doesn't seek out stages. But I'm sure if invited, he would step onto one. And we've seen that on a number of occasions. We've also seen on, sadly, more occasions than not, him not allowed on those stages. And in fact, the last time Rick wasn't allowed on a stage prior to Perth, I think would have been the Sydney rally that Simeon had organised and invited him to not only step on stage and speak at, but be the first speaker at. Unfortunately, Simeon didn't control that rally. That was controlled by Mac. Remember him? Christian Mac? He's disappeared, hasn't he? So Mac didn't want to let Bosie on. Why? Who paid for that big stage, that big PA? Where was the money behind that coming from? I think we all figured that out back at the time. They're just playing the same tricks, doing the same things, folks. Yeah. I do not have Bruce Sees All on, Paul. I don't know what Bruce Sees All has done. Is it worth putting on? If I put it on, it'll slow my stream down, so you won't be able to watch it. So I won't put it on, but I will go and have a look. So thanks for the tip. Mr. Bill, thank you so much for your sticker. Your contribution goes a bloody long way. So thank you. Thank you very much for your help. And anybody who wants to help, you can obviously go to vofhq.com and help us there. There is a donate button, or we'd love you to become a member, and we can start giving you some prizes, some contest opportunities will be coming your way. A little bit of madness going on at the moment. We are prepping for the final days, if you like, before the My Place Australia Redlands launch, and that's coming up on Friday. If you haven't got your invite yet, email me, carl@vofhq.com, and I will get it to you, and therefore you will then know the address and the time. Well, you know the time. It's going to be 5 o'clock for a 6 o'clock start. Be in Capella Bar. You won't have too far to come to find us. But it'll be a good night. We're looking forward to having a few people along, including the inimitable Darren Bergworth, who I'm going to pick up tomorrow night from the airport, or tomorrow afternoon from the airport. And tomorrow night, we won't be doing a show like this tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, both Darren and I turning up at my place on the Gold Coast. They're putting on an event specifically for Darren. I'm just going to drive him there and hide in the background and have a bit of a chat. But I will do a little bit of a show myself from somewhere out there, whether it be the car park or whatever. It'll be a bit of a chat, but it will only be on the Nun 2K channel, folks. So if you're watching on anything else, you won't see anything of that tomorrow night, because the only thing I'll be able to stream... I might be on Rumble as well. Give me time to think about how I do that, but I might be able to be on Rumble as well. So, but definitely Nun 2K and quite possibly Rumble for tomorrow night's show. I'll have Darren on for a bit of a chat. We'll talk to, I hope, Luke Carter, if he's not too busy, before their show kicks off on the Gold Coast. And we will also get ready for the big event happening Thursday night for the Sunshine Coast at Marine Point. Darren will be heading up there for the night too with Camillo and the team. And Camillo, can't remember if I sent you my invite or not today, so let me know if you got it. Hopefully we'll see you and your lovely wife at the event on Friday night when we kick off. And then Saturday, I think there's a My Place event in Jimboomba that Darren will be heading off to too. I may well go along to that one. There is a lot of things I've got to get sorted between now and sort of the end of next week. The plan is, folks, just so you know, we are definitely coming to Victoria and heading our way to South Australia. The first stop that I really have planned at this juncture, and it will be, I don't think I'm going to change it, is the 10th of October. We're going to be in Woodend at the pub in Woodend that usually doesn't open on that night of the week, but will, because I happen to be in town that night and we're looking for a venue. So if you're in the Woodend area or you want to come up to Woodend, you'll know the name of the pub. It's escaped me right now. I do apologize, but there is a wonderful lady that runs the joint who is willing to open up on her night off so that we can have a venue to come in and do. And I think that's just magnificent of us. So thank you so much. That's on the 10th of October. On the 11th of October, we're looking at doing a whistle stop, if you like, in Shepparton. Now, not exactly sure where the venue might be. It could be at the showgrounds. I might just pull the vehicle up there and we can do a show from outside the van, and or even inside it with our guests. And if you want to come along, I haven't got a barbecue. So if anybody wants to bring a barbecue, we might find some sausages or something. Are you even allowed to do that these days? I don't even know. But we will make an attempt to figure that out. And Shepparton on the 11th. The 12th, now the evening of the 12th, there is an event happening at Rich River Golf Club, which is Echuca Moama. I'm going to head up to Echuca on the 12th and probably go around to, that part of the river where, well, I remember it being sort of full of paddle steamers and an old paddle steamer type river village. But I'm led to believe that that may not be the case anymore. So I'll let you know. But we'll try and find somewhere in Echuca where I'll be able to pull up. Bear in mind, I'm going to be pretty long, folks, and going to need a bit of space. So showgrounds at this stage could be good options if there aren't any decent-sized truck pull parking bays in your area. Then from Echuca, we're going down to my place, Frankston, to catch up with Darren and the team for the first anniversary of my place down there. And that's on the 13th. And then after that, I see Bruce from Maryborough, my place, is in the chat tonight. Bruce, get in touch with Rachel at vofhq.com, or get a hold of Darren, but probably Rachel, and let us know. We might be able to slot you in on the 14th or the 15th. We might go to Bendigo too. There's a great crew in Bendigo, so we might be able to call in up there. Maybe we can have lunch in Maryborough and dinner in Bendigo, or vice versa. And we can meet up with a crew in each place, and then we'll probably head to Ballarat and then to Horsham. I have a personal affiliation with Horsham. It's been a long time since I've been to Horsham, and I used to work at the radio station in Horsham, 3WM. My daughter was born in Horsham at the Wimmera Base Hospital, Laura. And I have a lot of friends in that area who may or may not still be my friends. I don't know whether or not they follow much of what we do these days. However, if they do, I look forward to catching up maybe at the Exchange Hotel for a beer. Or if not that, the White Hart. Now, there'll be some radio memories in the old White Hart bar there for me. A lot of people in the Wimmera will remember the name Gil Young. Gil and I spent a bit of time in the White Hart bar back in the day. So that'll be Horsham, and then we're heading off to see Vince, the man himself, and the crew in Mannum. And I'm really excited to meet you guys in Mannum because, well, you've been able to get a great little group together. Admittedly, you've got Vince to sort of hold you together and push you along. He's a bit of a steamroller, and he's right into the My Place theme, so it's awesome. So I'm looking forward to coming and meeting you all, and hanging out with Vince, and of course hoping that he might help me out with a couple of technical things, which, yeah, I'm definitely going to need help with. So doing that, and then we're off into Adelaide. So if you are in or around Adelaide and you'd like a show, may not be able to bring the vehicle, the big thing that, well, our studio at least, because for, I don't know, 1 or 2 days, I don't know how long this is going to take. We are intending to get an H2 unit fitted for comparison. By the time I get to Adelaide, I will have had a pretty good idea of what the fuel economy in this thing's going to be like. And then by the time I get back to Brisbane, I should have a really good idea of just what sort of economy savings I get unit, and I'll be able to tell you what power increases I get using this H2 unit. And if you read the documentation that's put out from Tim Dwyer and his team at H2 Safe, then it's very, very impressive. It's if you run a petrol motor, yeah, it's okay. Anything is better than what you're getting. But if you run a diesel motor, exceptional. If you run LPG, exceptional. Exceptional gains in economy, exceptional gains in power. So something well worth looking into is an H2 unit, and he is doing deals for Voice of Freedom followers. If you want to wait until you see just how we go with our comparison, feel free. But bear in mind, the vehicle that I'm getting is a petrol motor, and we can only expect maybe 10% gains in both areas. So we're not looking for the kinds that we'd love to get, but we're not going to be able to get the kinds of gains you'll get with petrol, with diesel rather. The saving grace for me is that we will also be running a couple of 100 litres of LPG in this thing, and we should be able to get more in the line or more towards the scale of economy and power increases that you get with diesel using LPG. So hopefully that will be the case. I am really looking forward to putting it to the test and being able to show you the results along the way as we go. So yeah, in and around Adelaide, down south, up north, and well, look, if we've got to go up to Port Augusta, if there's folks up there, happy to go up to Port Augusta and catch up with you up there too, anywhere up that way. So that's the plan, Jan. If you are in those areas and you'd like us to be in contact, particular Maryborough, Bendigo, Ballarat and Horsham, then get in touch, because you can either get in touch with Darren and the team at My Place, and Darren will organise it. He may even come for that drive with me, and we'll get together, be it a lunch or dinner. We do actually want to get to Adelaide, so we're not going to spend a week getting through there, but we'll do a lunch and a dinner both days, I would suspect, and stay overnight in the second venue, and before heading off to the next one the next day. So if you'd like us to come and pop in and see you guys, we'd love to do it. So Rachel at vofhq.com is the place there. I'm not sure we've got too many tickets left for the opening on Friday night, but if you are in Brisbane and you'd like to come, then send an email to Rachel again at vofhq.com. She will send you back the invite if there are, in fact, any spots left. Paul, thank you for your donation, mate, your sticker. I appreciate it. Every little bit does help, and trust me, sometimes those $2 donations are the difference between fuel and not fuel, or rent and not paying rent. So I really do appreciate every little bit that you do put forward. Everybody puts forward, and it's quite humbling. And a bit, anyway, it's quite humbling. So I thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. It all counts. I'm just having a quick scan down the. There were a couple of starred questions that I think we've covered. Somebody said Dan will have a nice shiny job waiting at Telstra, no doubt. No, he doesn't. He's going to the World Economic Forum. Dan Andrews is going to become the Australian representative for the World Economic Forum, and his job starts tomorrow at 5 p.m. So his resignation is effective tomorrow from 5 p.m. as Victorian Premier, and he starts his new job immediately. That starts. Now, does that seem weird to you? It seems very weird to me. Usually, something like that smacks in my eyes as what I'm going to call at the moment chain of custody. I think he's just gone from the public face to the holding pen, if you like. And I think Dan Andrews is one of the people we will see publicly executed in the future, along with everybody else associated with the WEF. Could that be an MCG filling event? Fuck. You bet your ass you'd fill it twice over.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!